Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today is June the 14th of 2022, and this is now the regular scheduled board meeting of the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners were here at 4:30 for a public hearing in regards to the reapportioning map for the single districts of Richland School District 1 Board of Commissioners, seats District 1 through 4. At this time, we will go into our executive session with a legal status update on the agenda, along with HR personnel updates, employee suspensions, 2 of them without pay, 4 administrative appointments, 3 administrative hires, and then, of course, the hiring of personnel. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop and second by Commissioner Myers to approve the said agenda. Please be aware that pursuant to FOIA, which is the Freedom of Information Act, the public has been provided access to this live stream of the district's meeting, as well on our district website at www.richland1.org, as well as in person with limited seating. So you've heard the recommendation. It's been moved and properly second. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion based on the agenda for executive session. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote manually. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose say nay. Ayes have it. The vote is 6 affirmative. Let the record also reflect that Commissioner King is not present at this time. Thank you. This time we'll go to executive session. Good evening again, everyone. Again, today is June the 14th. This is the regular scheduled board meeting of the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners. We have been in executive session since 6 p.m. Executive session did end at 6:13 p.m. The motion from Commissioner Devine, that was seconded by Commissioner Bishop. Vote was unanimous to end at 6:13. We now have set before us our public session, which is our call to order. We will begin with 7.1, which is our invocation, which is going to be presented on tonight by Minister Wilhelmina Wilson of St. John Baptist Church.
Good evening. Good evening. I bring you greetings from my illustrious pastor, Dr. Jamie O. Graham Sr. It is a privilege for me to be in his stead because he couldn't be here tonight, but it's even more of a privilege for me to represent Jesus Christ. So if we could, let's bow our heads. Eternal and all-wise, gracious God, Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've allowed each one of us to witness. You've allowed us to wake up this morning to give you glory. You've allowed us to come to this moment in time, Lord Jesus, where decisions need to be made, where cohesiveness needs to abide. So we ask your presence in this place. Give us a unifying heart and a unifying mind that we might advance your kingdom through this means as you would have your kingdom advanced. We ask that you'll be with everyone that's here. Abide in the agenda, O God, and have your will and your most holy way. We'll be sure to give your name the honor, the praise, and all of the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so very much, Minister Wilson, for being with us on tonight. We certainly appreciate you and all that St. John Baptist Church do for our young people in our community. Next on the agenda will be our adoption. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Chair.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Myers. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. We're taking votes manual. We can take it manual on this one. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those that oppose say nay. Ayes have it. The agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. Again, let the record reflect in public session Commissioner King could not be with us on tonight. We'll move on to 8, which is the consent agenda. And if there's no objection from the board, we'd like to read all of these items in. If there are any items that you'd like to pull for questions, you can let us know after we read all of those items in. Under consent is 8-1, May 24th, 2022 minutes. 8-2 is a contract extension for fire extinguisher inspection and maintenance services. 8-3 is an extension for professional architectural and engineering services. 8-4 is an extension for communities and schools of the Midlands. 8-5 is a contract extension for early warning software solutions. 8-6 is an extension on on-site mental health professionals. 8-7 is an extension for professional development services. And 8-8 is an extension for Mastery Connect license renewal. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor now for any questions on any of these items. Commissioner Lominack?
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. I've got a question about the on-site mental health professionals contract extension. I don't know who, Dr. Witherspoon, I don't know if you want me to direct it to you or?
Yeah, you go ahead and
Okay.
ask the question. And then
So, obviously, I'm happy that we're renewing contracts for mental health professionals. One of the questions I've got is whether there was some reference to the memo about students who are getting these services doing better academically and in other ways. Are we tracking that data in any formal way?
Thank you. Tony Keller Campbell, please.
No, good evening. No, sir, we're not tracking the academic data.
Is there a way to do it without, I mean, obviously, I recognize we've got all kind of privacy and confidentiality concerns. Is there a way to do that and satisfy those concerns? Because I think it would be really important to be able to show that, because we need more. I mean, 14 is better than 9, but 14 is not nearly enough, and it would be nice to be able to go to the state legislature or when we're having conversations with county council to show them these kids who are getting counseling are actually doing better in these ways, and that's also helping you all in your purviews.
One of those things I will say in terms of AARE, Dr. Minor is here, but when we do such a program analysis, there would be a host of other factors to look at as opposed to a one-to-one.
Sure,
It
sure.
was this, and this was the result. But that is something we certainly can ask that shop to either place in their queue or take a look at and see from a statistical perspective what might be the best way to take a look at that.
And I don't pretend that that's easy. I realize you've got a control for all the other variables and things like that, but I think with enough students, you can probably show that this counseling works. Are all 14 of the positions filled at this point? Because I know CAMH is the subcontractor of DMH that we've been working with, and sometimes that's been an issue. But as of the end of this year, were all 14 positions filled?
No, sir.
Okay. And so has that been an issue that CAMH may not have someone, even though we're contracting with them for that position?
They do have an ongoing, they do have turnover. They do.
Okay.
They do.
And can we only contract with CAMH for these services, or are we allowed to also go outside that agency?
At this time, we are only using Columbia Area Mental Health, but I do think that that's a discussion that we would have to have and look at what other entities we allow in, so.
Well, I would encourage the administration to do whatever we can to get creative, and if we can look beyond CAMH, and this isn't a problem specific to CAMH, but just the more people we can get, and if we say we've got 14 counselors, but CAMH can't provide them, then it'd be nice to use that money to make sure we're getting all 14. I mean, I know that when I was a teacher, we went a year and a half without a counselor ever stepping foot in that school because somebody went on leave and they were never replaced. One of the only other thing I'd like to say is CAMH does have requirements, or at least they used to, of some parental involvement. And while I think that it's good for parents to be involved, sometimes that's not possible, and those kids were getting kicked off the roster during the summer. So I'd like us to explore ways to prevent that from happening, because quite often the students whose parents aren't involved in that part of their lives are the students who probably need the counseling the most. And so I think it'd be worth exploring whether CAMH can tweak that and reduce that need, or also whether we can look outside CAMH. That's all. Thanks, Chairwoman Harris.
Thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner Lominack. Any other questions? on any items? Commissioner Devine?
Thank you. Mr. Lomanet asked some of the same questions that I wanted to ask. As we look forward to the upcoming year when it comes to the mental health professionals, that number is 14. Is there a number, and I'm general question, is there a number that we would like for it to be?
I think 14 at this point from Columbia Area Mental Health is where we probably will stay. I think we'll probably explore some of the other options that are out there based on once we go back to our team. But 14 is a good number right now.
Is there, so you know how we have counselors and
Right.
teachers, is that a decent number for the number of students that we have? But I guess it's also based off needs and services, so don't worry about that, don't answer that. Thank you very, very much. Madam Chair, I do have another question. I'm finished with that. The other question was regarding the CIS, Communities in School. That question is more of a statement. Thank you all so much for expanding this program. And I think it'll be good for us to continue to explore this across the district. They provided very satisfactory service to us. So thank you, Dr. Witherspoon, and to your team for expanding that across the state. I mean, across our district. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, Ms. Campbell. Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Remember, we are voting on all of the consent agenda. Okay, it was unanimous. Since we can't see it on the screen, let's just take it publicly so that it's, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those that oppose say nay. Ayes have it. All items previously stated on the consent agenda have been approved. We'll move on now to the Office of Operations, which is 9-1, which is a contract to provide courier services. Ms. Outing. And we're gonna, if there's no objection, Office of Operations, we gotta get somebody to the baby birthday party. Office of Operations, we're gonna do the contract to provide courier services 9-1, 9-2, the contract for professional development, staff training, Ms. Outing.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, the administration is requesting approval to award a contract to GIO Express, Inc. to provide courier services for the district. The administration so recommends.
Can you read in 9-2 as well?
The administration is requesting approval to award a contract to Institute for Multisensory Education to provide professional development staff training. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendations of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop and was seconded by Commissioner Myers. We'll open the floor for any questions on either item 9-1 or 9-2. Commissioner Devine?
Thank you. Ms. Outing, this first contract regarding the courier services, is this a new contract?
This is a new solicitation with a new award. Yes, sir.
And in this contract, is there an opportunity or somewhere where if, for example, is this a fixed rate, fixed price contract? So could they come back to us and say, hey, gas price is going up, I need additional dollars, or is this a fixed cost contract at this point?
At the beginning of the contract, it is what's quoted or what is actually put in the bid. There is provisions within the solicitation to require CPI within reasonable doubt. We will review that and take that into consideration. But at the time, when they put in the offer, that was already considered.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, any additional questions? Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. Just one question. It's about $55,000 a year, right? The contract. Am I reading that right?
Yes, sir.
And that total of $274,000, that's only if we extend it those two optional years.
That is
okay.
correct.
Thank you. Thanks, Chairwoman Harris.
Any other questions? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Remember, we are voting on everything listed under Office of Operations.
Correct.
Okay, the ayes have it. The vote is unanimous. All items, as previously stated, under the Office of Operations have been approved. Thank you so much, Ms. Alden. We'll now move to the Office of Human Resources. We'll begin with 10.1, which is our HR personnel updates. Mr. Kalu.
Good evening, Chairwoman, Board of Commissioners, Superintendent. The items for HR updates were shared during executive session.
This is an information item. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on. 10.2 is employee suspension without pay.
The administration recommends that the employee discussed in executive session be suspended without pay for 3 days.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers. It's been seconded by Commissioner Devine. All those in favor say aye. Did I do that right?
No.
Okay. We're going to open up the floor for question or discussion.
Yes.
See, y'all got me rushing trying to get Mama out of here. Slow down. Now we'll open the floor for any questions or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The ayes have it. The vote was unanimous. Employee, as previously stated in 10.2, has been approved. 10.3, employee suspension without pay. Mr. Kalu.
The administration recommends that the employee discussed in executive session employment be suspended without pay for 2 days.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. There we go.
Was that moving slow? Update?
What is it? Vote is unanimous. The employee suspension without pay, as previously stated in 10.3, have been approved. 10.4, administrative appointment. Mr. Kalu.
The administration recommends the appointment of Cicely Maxwell to the position of assistant principal at Carverline Elementary School for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Myers. We'll open the floor for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The administrative appointment has been approved. 10.5, administrative appointment.
The administration recommends the appointment of Tony Webb Jr. to the position of Coordinator of Elementary Virtual Programs in the Office of Elementary Education for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Myers and second by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The administrative appointment as previously stated in 10-5 has been approved. 10-6, administrative appointment.
The administration recommends the appointment of Chrisella Goodman to the position of acting principal at Alcorn Middle School for the 2022-2023 school year.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Myers. We'll open the floor for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The administrative appointment as stated in 10-6 has been approved. 10-7, administrative appointment.
The administration recommends the appointment of Tiffany Brooks to the position of acting principal at E.E. Taylor Elementary School for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Myers. We'll now open the floor for any questions or discussion. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. Because I think I need to explain on the record, I'm going to abstain because of my previously discussed reasons that I think we need to involve teachers and the Office of Teaching and Learning when we're hiring principals. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous, with 5 yeas and 1 abstention. The administrative appointment was still approved 10-7 as previously stated. 10-8, administrative hire.
The administration recommends hiring Mitchell Moten to the position of assistant principal at Lower Richland High School for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The administrative hire, as previously stated in 10-8, has been approved. 10-9, administrative hire.
The administration recommends hiring Kenneth Jackson to the position of assistant principal at Meadowfield Elementary School for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Clyburn, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The administrative hire as stated in 10-9 has been approved. 10-10, administrative hire.
The administration recommends hiring Julia Scott to the position of Director of Elementary Education in the Office of Teaching and Learning for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Clyburn, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The administrative hire as stated in 10-10 has been approved. 10-11, hiring of personnel.
The administration recommends hiring all 18 teachers on the attached list for the 2022-2023 school year.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It was moved by Commissioner Clyburn and Myers, and it was seconded by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The hiring of personnel, the previously stated 18 teachers and 1011 has been approved. Thank you so much, Mr. Kalu.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to the Office of Academics with 11-1, which is the 2022-23 textbook recommendations. Dr. Fields.
Good evening, Commissioner Harris, Board of Commissioners, School Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. We're here to request your approval of the adoption of instructional resources and materials for the 2022-23 school year, which includes the textbooks adoptions that were included in your packets. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop and second by Commissioner Myers. We'll now open the floor for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The 2022-23 textbook recommendations have been approved in 11.1. Thank you so much, Dr. Fields. We'll now move on to 11.2, which is the local board approved courses by Ms. Jennings.
Good evening, Chairwoman Harris, Board of Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon. According to Regulation 43-254, the state allows districts to design elective courses with board approval that can be offered within the school district. I'm bringing to you tonight 2 courses that we are recommending for approval. The first course being musical theater, and the second course being instrumental music orchestra. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The local board approved courses have been approved, 11.2. Thank you. Now move on to the office of the board with 12.1, which is the approval of reapportioning map. Let me state, as Attorney Williams is approaching the podium, the Board of Commissioners have hosted 2 public hearings for public input, which was held on June 7th and again today at 4:30 on June the 14th. At this time, we will move forth as a board with the next steps in submitting our reapportioning maps after we take this vote. Attorney Williams?
Chairman Harris, Commissioners, Dr. Witherspoon, a recommendation is being made to move forward with the reapportionment map that the board has looked at. They've called for others to come in if they so desire to take a look at the map, and that is now being recommended for approval to move forward.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers and Commissioner Bishop. It's been seconded by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The vote is unanimous. The reapportioning map for the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners, single districts seats have been approved, 12.1. Thank you so much, Attorney Williams. We'll now move on to 12.2, which is the approval of the proposed budget transfer for fiscal year 2022. Mr. Carlin.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, the administration requests approval of proposed budget transfer for fiscal year 22. A transfer of funds for the following areas is necessary due to the higher than anticipated costs: custodial services, information technology, and building services. The funds allocated for vacancies will be used for the transfer. The administration recommends approval to transfer fiscal year 21-22 funds per the above schedule. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine and second by Commissioner Bishop. We'll now open the floor for question and discussion. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. The custodial staff issue, I'm getting increasingly frustrated calls from parents, teachers, and some school leaders as well, concerned about this issue. One of the things that I've become aware of is that this predates the pandemic. What can we tell teachers and school leaders that we're doing to address this? Because what they tell me is that their schools and classrooms are dirty, and that the custodial staff that are at the schools are being asked to do more than any one person can do, and that they're being asked to do it, in some cases, at a salary of $18,000 a year. So can we tell the public what we're doing to address that?
Well, we're working with both HR and outside firms, and again, we've had outside firms before. They have not worked well. They haven't cleaned as well. But we're willing to look at those to alleviate some of the pressure on the current staff. We may have to try that for a year or so, just until we can get more hired. We did go through and we offered incentives for signing bonuses. We may have to look at some other options as far as what we did with the bus drivers, maybe some longevity. But right now, we're in the process of trying to figure out what's going to work. We've had a fair just last weekend. We've continued to have fairs throughout the year.
Do we have a sense of why we're struggling in that area? I mean, is it salary? Are there other issues that I don't understand?
Yeah, it's the statewide, it's nationwide. It's the same problem everywhere.
And so, given that that's a problem, can we increase the salary? I mean, would that, I mean, $18,000, I mean, one of the things principals say to me is, you try keeping somebody in your place of employment for $18,000 a year. It takes them about 2 weeks to find a job that pays more. So is that something that we could do that would differentiate us from other folks and keep people longer?
I don't know what the salaries are without looking, if that's what you say they are, but yes, we can. We can look at that.
I mean, I recognize that there's a challenge and an obstacle in this area, but the status quo can't remain for next year. So I'm just trying to figure out what are the solutions and what are the areas that we can explore to address that, given the shortage and the obstacles that face us. Because we can't all next year continue to get pictures of dirty schools and custodial staff quitting because they're being asked to do too much. So that's why I'm asking these questions. Thank you, Chairwoman Harris.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Lomanak. And just to piggyback on the question, right now in Richland 1, or I guess we can say a lot of districts, we're working with a budget that we're not asking for a millage increase. And I think we have to understand what that means. With not increasing your millage means you're not increasing taxes on your taxpayers. We've asked for the same amount of money in Richland 1 for the past 3 years, if I'm correct, right, Dr. Witherspoon?
Same millage.
And our fingers are crossed that the value of our mills will go up to a little over $4 million. So that will give us a little extra money. I hear the sentiments of Mr. Lomanek. I share them because I know that there are schools out there that have very few janitors. But right along the lines with mental health and bus drivers and teachers, the whole world is in this crisis. The whole world has a shortage. And I think that one of the things that we all can do is encourage individuals to come to the job fair. That when we're hiring, I don't know who the lady was on the Big DM today, but she preached the job fair in Richland 1. She said, if you're looking for a job, Richland 1 is hiring. I don't know who she is, but I said kudos to her because I heard it about 5 times today within a 2-hour time span. We need to encourage individuals to come and apply for these jobs because we can't make anybody work. And I think that's what we have to keep in mind. So there are things that we can help do. If we know someone that's looking for a job, let's encourage them to go and apply. But with the budget that we have, there are some things that we would have to really go back and look at. And I know one of the things that Mr. Carlin and Dr. Witherspoon, you know, you don't want to ever get to the point where you decide what's more valuable, that you have this or you have that. When your state has more dollars now than they've ever had, Commissioner Devine. And we're working around here as elected officials like we're in a budget crisis in the state of South Carolina. And we have the money. We have the money. And we can fix every road and every bridge in the state of South Carolina. But if you don't have teachers to teach and janitors, like you said, Mr. Lomanek, to clean those bathrooms, we're in our own crisis. You know, so I just encourage every one of us, you know, we know people that's not working, that, hey, why don't you go and apply? You know, I think that the requirements for some of those positions are a little moderate now, that it's a little easier for them to get in. But one of the things I've shared with Dr. Witherspoon, and I'll say this to my colleagues, you've got a generation of people, and I'm not talking about young people, that are afraid to go online. The paper application was the bomb. Now that you got to go online and all this other stuff, people run from that. We're modern, but there comes a point in time that we are going to have to take a look at that. And at those fairs, have people available to help individuals sign up for these jobs. So I just think that that's something that we've got to look into. We've got to look at the crisis that we're in and how we can better help individuals. There are people that want to work, but when you tell them they got to go online, Miss Alden, and fill out an application, they look at you sideways. And they ask the question, Ms. Janetta, what happened to the paper applications? And I know we're modernized, but those are some things we gotta seriously consider, Dr. Witherspoon, when it comes to finding individuals and folks that want to work but may not be as educated on maneuvering the computer. I just wanted to add that on the heels of what Mr. Lomanek had shared, because I freaked out when I found out a school was down to 4 janitors. But then I understood why. And I, talked to some individuals and they shared with me, I'm not going on no computer. I thought that was just really crazy to hear that. So I just wanted to add that. Commissioner Bishop?
Thank you, Chairwoman. To speak to the situation at hand, I have a hard time cleaning up my own house, let alone looking at the janitorial staff clean up a whole school. I think we may be looking at a solution-based opportunity that we use with our security, we use with our painting, we use with our grass. If we're talking about, clean schools, I know that we're going to have to probably, take away from Paul to give to Peter, or rob Peter to pay Paul. Because one of the things we know that is important for us all as a school system is safety. Now we're also talking about cleanliness. So maybe if there is an opportunity to do what people have done, annually in their own homes, which is spring cleaning. Well, we got fall cleaning, winter cleaning, where we can try to not necessarily burn out our people, but help them out. So if there is some room in the budget, I would love to see that as an opportunity to outsource, an opportunity for people to come in and help them during certain times, whether it's professional development day or maybe during breaks when we have long weekends. That way we can try to put, a little effort towards helping those janitorial staff. And to those who are listening, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do. I know that's a heavy lift to keep a school clean, and then you got to keep some parts of the outdoors clean. That's a lot. At one particular school, I won't name the school, but I've seen even the students helping the janitorial staff because they know those are the people who reach out and let them know that they're cared for as students. Sometimes those are some of the mentors. Sometimes those are some of the best teachers in our school system. So to the janitorial staff, I hear what Mr. Lomanak is saying as well as Chairwoman Harris, and I look forward to whatever solution comes from that, Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Commissioner Bishop. And on the heels of that, Dr. Witherspoon, Mr. Carlin, if you all can come back to us with something, 18,000. I know we've worked to have sign-on bonus, retention bonus, and all kind of bonuses for bus drivers. We've even taken a look at nutrition. It's time to take a look at janitor staff. So you all can look at that and see what we can do. I think we all singing from the same sheet of music right now, that we need to take a look at that to be a little bit more attractive in hiring. Okay, any other question or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The approval of the proposed budget transfer for the fiscal year 2022 has been approved. Thank you so much, Mr. Carlin. We'll now move to 12.3, which is the first reading of the fiscal year 22-23 general fund budget. Mr. Carlin.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, first reading, proposed fiscal year 22-23 general fund budget. Since the May 10th, 2022 budget work session, the administration has made adjustments to the proposed budget. During the work session, we discussed proposed increases. Some of these increases included approval of additional FTEs for language immersion program, move FTEs from the special revenue to general fund because the funding is being moved to general fund, increase for security, and increases for some department budgets. An increase in employer health insurance premiums and employer retirement costs was also discussed. Also, a step increase on the salary schedule is included in the budget for eligible staff, both certified and non-certified. The changes from the budget work session are department budgets are reduced by $1.3 million. Added certified salary increase of $1,000 per teacher at $2.5 million. Added non-certified salary increase per person of $500 at $1.3 million. The district has not received final fiscal year 22-23 state revenue information from the state. The information presented was per the House budget projections. The state has provided the Senate projections, which are slightly higher than the House projections. The Senate projections are being used for this first reading. With the passing of Act 388 in June of 2006, the district is capped at an increase equal to CPI 4.7% plus population growth 0% on the operating millage. So that gives you a total of 4.7%. The estimate for this cap is $248,097,217. The millage cap is 279 mills, which is an increase of 12.5 mills over fiscal year 22 and $8.25 million. The request to the county will be for the no millage increase. The attached schedules are based on a needs-based budget. Once we have final numbers from the county and the state, we can make final adjustments to the budget. The administration recommends approval of fiscal year 22-23 general fund budget of $356,942,803. The The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question and discussion. Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. Mr. Carlin, what's the latest status? I understood that the Senate and House, they had completed their reconciliation process. Can you update us on where that stands and what that's going to do?
Yes, they finalized, the conference committee finalized on Friday. The Senate and the House will meet tomorrow to vote on whatever that compromise is. It's kind of a split between the House and the Senate versions. The state will try and get us numbers by the end of the week or the beginning of next week. So as of right now, I don't have numbers from that conference committee.
Okay, thank you, Chairwoman Harris. Thanks, Mr. Carlin.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Vote is unanimous. The first reading of the fiscal 2022-23 general fund budget for fiscal year has been approved. Thank you so much, Mr. Carlin. We'll now move on to 12.4, which is our 2022-23 board meeting schedule. I guess I'm presenting this. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Myers. It's been seconded by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for any questions or discussion. See Commissioner Bishop.
Madam Chair, this may be a question that has been answered in the past, but can any one of these meetings be virtual, or all of them have to be in person? I'm really asking this. I think we came out of being virtual, but if a board meeting can be virtual, is that still a possibility?
Yes, if are you wanting to select a meeting to do virtual? Is that what you're asking?
It could be, I mean, just any one of these meetings. I'm looking at the schedule and I thought about some of these meetings and the dates. And I was asking, could a meeting become virtual if the board decide?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's all I need to know. Thank you so much.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. The vote is unanimous. The 2022-23 board meeting schedule has been approved, Commissioner Bishop.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Are we looking at that February 14th Valentine's Day
Madam
meeting?
Chair, that is like, you know, a date.
We've had meetings before on the 14th, sir. Not a problem.
That was under consideration, ma'am.
We
Thank
try
you.
to get out quickly.
That is pretty interesting.
Or we'll look at moving it if we need to.
Go ahead.
We'll discuss it later as a board once we get to February 2023. The vote is unanimous, however, and the meeting schedule has been approved for the board. We'll now move to the board report, which is 12.5. This is where the board reports out on any activities or events that they might have been a part of, aside from our normal events such as chat with the chairs, graduation at the end of the year, all 10 of them. We'll now open the floor for any report from any board member. Commissioner Lomanak, then Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. I just wanted to follow up. At the last meeting, I had brought up the issue of teacher turnover data. And in looking at what we've been provided, it seems clear that we had lost almost 20% of our teachers. And And that's not normal, even in COVID times. And at some point, we've got to just say it's not normal and recognize that that was more than most districts. And one of the things I think the board could do is focus on high turnover schools. I was really disturbed to learn after the last meeting when I requested that the board be provided that data that we will not get it until September. That really takes a lot of time away from the board to review it and to come up and think about policies that could help. And one of the things that I thought was disturbing was that rather than acknowledge that losing 20% of a district's teachers is abnormal, when compared to other districts, we say, well, you can't compare us to other districts because we've got a higher poverty rate. That does not impact teacher retention. In fact, our two lowest poverty rate middle schools are going to be at a 30 to 40% teacher turnover rate. That should be unacceptable. So when we talk about equity, one of the things that we've got to recognize is some schools are really being crushed by this teacher turnover. One of our elementary schools is losing 77% of its classroom teachers. And to not give us that data until September and rob the district of the summer to review it, along with the exit interview data, which I'm looking forward to getting on July 1st, I think takes, really is more about controlling the narrative rather than letting us address these issues. And I will tell you that I met with some teachers who were leaving, but there were also some teachers in that group who were staying. But what they said to me is, we're staying on the condition that when we show up at our school in August, things are okay, and we're watching what y'all are doing. And we'll be gone by September if our classrooms aren't filled with qualified teachers, if we don't feel like we're getting the support we need. So I would really implore the district to give us the teacher turnover data for each school immediately, along with the exit interview data, so the board can review it, discuss it, and try to figure out ways that we can do better next year. Thank you, Chairwoman Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Lomanek. Now I have a question for you. When we review the data, because this is operational, what is it that we're looking to do as a board that we can't do now?
Well, one, I'd like us to get an idea of how many schools are we seeing, what's the range? For example, if you see in a cluster, same cluster of families, same poverty rate in the community, and you've got a school with 8% turnover rate, which is great, you've got a school with 9%, and then you've got a school with 40%. What can we suggest to the administration to do, and what can we develop as policies to address those? I'd love to see us have a small group of folks at the district admin level that do nothing but develop relationships with teachers and staff in our schools so that they can be proactive in hearing about problems, so we don't have to wait until 77% of the classroom teachers from a school leave. Because I'm telling you, the kids who need the best and the kids who need our teachers the most are the ones that get hurt the most when we have this kind of turnover at schools. So that would be one thing that we could look at. I'm open to all kinds of suggestions once we have some idea how many schools have over 30%. Are we talking about only 3 or 4? Or are we talking about half the schools? And then figure out, all right, what can we suggest or policies that we can create to encourage a different approach at those schools and not treat them like the other schools, because they're not the same when you're losing that many teachers year after year after year.
And I hear what you're saying, and I'll get to you, Mr. Kalu, because when you're talking about policy, and I'm just trying to figure out what policy we can put in place to retain teachers or to hire teachers that don't currently exist. I know for a fact, and I know Commissioner Bishop and Commissioner Devine, you will agree with this, we saw turnover in the rural area. So there was a rural stipend at a certain point in time that helped to alleviate that problem. However, and I'm speaking for me on this statement, the turnover rate is real everywhere we go. It's not just happening in South Carolina. It's not just happening in Richland 1. And I know my concern is this district. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are doing the sign-on bonuses, et cetera, and so forth. I think that this is something that Dr. Witherspoon at the next board retreat, which we're working towards early July, August, that we added to an agenda, that we can discuss the data. And the reason I say that is because everybody looks at data and everybody's interpretation is differently. Some will see the glass half full. Some of us will see it half empty. And it has a lot to do with, what we've already experienced. I recall a school year, Commissioner Bishop, where we had a large turnover rate at the end of a school year. By the time we started school, our vacancies was down next to nothing. And I can't agree more. I do understand it's going to take some time. As you said, it's going to take us some time to go through the data, but it's going to take some time for them to compile the data. And they're supposed to be recruiting right now. I do believe we do need to do more recruiting on the campuses of our colleges or whatnot. We do have programs in place. What's the program that we have at Horror Hill? Is that a teacher cadet with USC? What's the
Professional development schools?
Right, it's a professional development school, but we have teachers there, and a lot of them we end up retaining. I think we need student teachers. Yeah, we need to do more of that. But I can tell you this: some of the things that hurt us, because I talk to teachers too. I talk to folk across the state. I have a cousin that's a superintendent in one of the most lavishing school districts it is in the country. And one of the things she told me is this: we're the biggest sellers of the district. And when we're out here bad-mouthing the district and everything else, nobody don't want to work for you, okay? Nobody wants to come to a problem. So I think one of the greatest things we all can do is talk about the good things that are happening in the district. Commissioner Devine, we can talk about all the bad stuff. It's about 5%, but there's 95% of amazing things happening in our district. We play a part in retaining teachers. We play a part in hiring good teachers. But if we have nothing good to say about our district to the general population, guess what? Folk don't want to be a part of that. So sometimes we've got to do our part, and I'm not speaking to anybody in particular. I'm talking about all of us. When I talk to teachers that in other places, I talk about what's positive in the district, in spite of poverty, in spite of urban, suburban, and rural, in spite of being in the capital, so you've got to inherit a lot of stuff other districts don't have to deal with. And we don't have to continue to preach that sermon because I think everybody knows it. But I think we have to say to ourselves, how do we help our district retain and hire good teachers? Create the pathway. They need to talk to the superintendent. He's approachable. Talk to him. I get it all the time. I've had not one teacher retaliated against. It works. We have to help develop and build relationships, guys, that helps to strengthen the district. So I just wanted to add that because that is the hot topic. I don't like teacher vacancies either. But I know as a board member, I play a part. I know as a member of the community, I play a part. Commissioner Bishop?
Yeah, Chairwoman, I think we've had this conversation year after year about the number of people who are not returning to the profession of education. Truth is, I believe that has been exasperated over the effects of COVID. And I know we're saying, hey, how long is that going to be the excuse that's driven before us? But it's real. And then what is also exasperated or amplified is something called the Great Resignation. There's a number of people, and one of my son's teachers, who's left the classroom to become a consultant. There's a number of people, especially African Americans. I mean, it's booming. It's an uptick of people who are now going into the consultant world. So, as I hear the conversation, I think there's going to be a number of reasons why that percentage is high. And I'm interested to see that data when it does come out, because the truth is the truth. It's going to be what it is. But I don't think it's just something that's all bad. I think that there are some people who just walk away because they can't do it anymore, that they're tired. They don't have any love for the profession anymore. But then there are some people who just may have got a few couple of dollars more than what we're paying. One district in the state of South Carolina, I think they're paying about $5,000 more than we are, right? So that $5,000 will go a long way when gas is $5 a tank. well, maybe not, but the truth is that there could be a plethora of reasons why people are maybe going to another district, maybe going into work for themselves. But yes, Madam Chair, when August comes around, hopefully we can look at this. I don't know if it's just policy, but maybe it's incentives, maybe it's programs. I'm waiting on this research to come to me about the impact, Mr. Lomanak, people who graduate from historically black, graduates from historically black colleges having a greater impact on teaching children of African American descent or children of color. Well, we're going to talk about, recruiting or bringing in new talent. Yeah, let's go to the HBCUs. Let's go all the way there to get not only just the quantitative answer, but the qualitative answer as well. Because we want quality teachers and more teachers all at the same time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Bishop. Floor is still open for any other board member. Commissioner Lomanak.
I think this conversation really reveals why we need the data. I mean, I know people are resigning, but at one school that lost 28 teachers, 2 were resigning. The rest are staying teaching in neighboring districts, and one took an additional commute and $100, which is not much of a pay cut, but $100 pay cut, and can't wait to come back to that school when she feels like she'll be supported. So I want us to listen to teachers, get the data from the exit interviews, get the teacher retention data by school, and then we can start talking about it. I mean, I don't think that we can accept the number of teachers we're losing at some of our schools that are beyond the pandemic, beyond the resignations that have been exacerbated by the pandemic. There are absolutely some leadership issues at some of our schools that we at least need to be aware of, because if we're not, we can't fix it. And one of the things I hear from teachers all the time, they're problems, and if y'all aren't talking about them, we feel ignored. So let's talk about them. And there's got to be a way for us to get the exit interview data and the teacher retention data by July 1st. The teacher retention data is how many teachers started at that school and how many teachers left at the end of that year. Not vacancies, but how many started and how many left that school and didn't return to that school. That should be pretty easy to compile. Thanks, Chairwoman Harris.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Bishop.
I think there's also still a people factor here, not just a financial issue or something dealing with, why people are leaving. I think another thing that we still got to be very consider. I mean, we have to consider is the social emotional health of employees. If we over here doing a contract for our students, then what about our teachers? People feel better when you just ask them, how are you doing? And when they say fine, don't just ask them what, is that okay? Ask them what else does that mean? When we look at even leadership impact on the environment of a workforce, leadership needs help as well. So I believe that as we're talking about it, it's good because there's going to be more than one way to wear this hat, more than one way to swing this bat. I truly believe that there's no silver bullet to what we're talking about. But if we're going to literally try to just say it's in the data, maybe it's not in the data.
It's not.
Maybe it's just in the conversation with a group of people who have the pulse of our workforce who can tell us that maybe people's morale is just down because teamwork always makes the dream work. But are we building the teams? Are we building the people? We build playgrounds, we build curriculum, but are we building the people?
That's right.
This pandemic tore a lot of people down. There's a lot of people who lost loved ones during this year or the last 2 years. And mentally, that is draining, just not be able to leave your job and call someone who you love and say, this is how my day went. There's a number of reasons that we're going to find out, and I'm just interested to see what those are. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you, and I think Commissioner Bishop, you're spot on. That mental health piece, it's real, and I had a conversation with Ms. Campbell. We can't find enough mental health counselors for the children or the adults because they don't exist. They're not in school. They're not studying for this profession. That's why a lot of times when I hear folks say we need more mental health counselors, it's easier said than done. That's why you've got to go back and look at other things. What schools around you are producing them? And you go to those colleges and you see that they're not being produced as fast as we need them. You got to understand something. Not only are we in a teacher shortage, we was in a formula shortage. When have you ever heard of us being in a formula shortage? But that was the real deal. So we're in a crisis as a country. And unfortunately, as you said, Commissioner Bishop, which is an excellent point, you and Commissioner Lomanak, folk are not in love with this profession anymore. I mean, I hear teachers talk about the discipline issues and the things they have to go through, that before I can sit in a classroom and let a kid curse at me, I'm just going to go into the house. So that's just the world we live in. And again, we have to look at a lot of things because there are a lot of moving parts, Commissioner Devine, from all angles. We got to look just like the issues with the guns. Now our General Assembly is ready to do something, but we've been fighting that war with them since 2017, saying, 365, that's a glorified vacation. Now they want to act. But think about the teachers that come and say, I fear that. I'm glad you all are doing the metal detectors. You know what I'm saying? So you've got that going on, and then you've got, as Commissioner Bishop said, so many losing their loved ones from COVID and everything else. On top of, you got to decide whether or not you're going to put gas in your car, Commissioner Myers, or you're going to buy your medicine, or are you going to be able to make it to work? That's the reality of what our people are all dealing with right now. Commissioner Bishop.
Madam Chair, I'll be very brief. When I look at even the pipeline towards leadership, there's a number of people who want upward mobility within the organization. And we know that as you get higher in the organization, there are less opportunities for those positions. When we look at this data, you're going to see probably people who are upset because they didn't necessarily get a chance to move higher in the organization. Well, when we learn that, do we do policy? Do we do incentives? Do we do rewards so that these people are retained? It's going to be a big discussion because there's not so many principalships in District 1.
Only 52.
There's not so many area, executive directors. There may be some people who want to go as high as, they can in this organization, but what does that look like?
That's right.
So, look forward to having that conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Witherspoon, on the heels of the comment, when we do the retreat, can we have that data provided for us a week before, at least a week before, so we have ample time to review it before we get to the retreat? I know you guys are closing the school year out still. It's a lot of stuff going on that a lot of folk don't realize. And then you're opening at the same time. But if you can get that data to us at least a week before that board retreat, so the board will be able to review it, so we can have a productive conversation versus getting the information for the first time. We greatly appreciate it. Any other board reports before we move on? Commissioner Clyburn.
I have a question as it relates to this topic, and it's related to the social work piece. With the need that we all know that's here, for more social workers, counselors of that nature, can we look at the requirements that are not specifically for a social worker? I know that's, probably something that can never be touched as far as the requirements that are necessary, for people to counsel children or adults, as Commissioner Bishop just brought up, the teachers. But can we look at maybe some supportive or supporting roles to assist social workers? That maybe the requirements aren't as stringent or are not as difficult to attain. Maybe some, I don't know if you all get what I'm saying, but.
Speak to that, Dr.
I mean, still needing the experience and, all of that, but, possibly to attract more into the field.
Well, we will do that. We've ratcheted it up and we'll continue to do more with mentors and that training and all. If you're talking about that from a student or staff support framework in a generic sense. But some of those requirements in terms of, getting that degree in social work and so forth set by the universities. But if it's just the function or some of those things that happen, there'd be some other possible considerations and all that we would have to take a look at. But I understand your point in terms of what could we look at in terms of more support, if you will. And that's something we'd have to take a look at.
Okay. Any other questions or comments or board discussions for under board reports? Commissioner Devine?
Madam Chair, I'm not trying to take over your meeting, but can we hear from staff regarding this issue, or you want to wait till the board retreat?
I think that we can wait till the retreat, because I think if we open the floor for staff, we'll be here much longer.
Okay.
I think it's a very hefty discussion. Okay. Dr. Witherspoon, if you have somebody that you would want to respond just for tonight, we can have that. I think
do have some comments, Madam Chair, but
absolutely,
I'll wait
Dr.
till
Witherspoon.
appropriate
We'll yield to Dr. Witherspoon.
time.
You want to do it now, or you want to wait till your board report?
We'll let him go ahead because he said he's got some comments.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, members of the board, I certainly do appreciate the comments with regard to teacher retention and those items. I would caution us though, and sometimes in these discussions, and I agree with much of everything that has been said, but I do want to caution when comments are made, we don't talk to teachers and we don't talk to administrators and all that. I do have to beg to differ. We do. And just as somebody made the comment, we're not going to address this if we pit teachers against the principal, principals against administration, and this one against that one, and all. This has got to be working together. And some things I will go down, and I think we talked about this at the last retreat, and we'll talk about this at the next one as well. There is a lot that we do. And as I have said, the EDs of schools, and HR, and anybody at any time can come and talk to someone. And I've yet to see anybody get retaliated against or feel like that they can't or wouldn't or what have you. And I will stress, administration and everybody, we look at these things and where there needs to be, discussion and or action or what have you, that is done. So I don't want anyone to have, any idea that no one talks to anybody and no adjustments or course correction or what have you happens. On the contrary, and we're all here to educate students. We're all here to support each other, and we're all on the same team. At least we should be. And that's how we're all going to work together and address the needs, to build relationships, to have those check-ins, and I'll give the same analogy. Even if similar analogy, parent comes in and the teacher this, the teacher that, and the first thing we're going to do is, okay, have you talked to the teacher? We don't wait till the end of the year and say, okay, we're going to fire the teacher. Okay, what's going on? Let's have a conversation. Now, what do we put in place? What do we do? How do we get to root cause and prescription and so forth and move forward? And this and part of comments that you all have made this evening, we do the same thing. We do have but it starts with, hey, you got to let us know. And it's just like, again, end of the year, Johnny's failed. Well, what happened first grading period, second grading period, third grading period? And did we do something different or have a conversation or and the like. So I don't want anyone to think that those actions do not happen, or anybody in the organization to feel like that they can't do that. We get calls and meetings requests from everybody from bus drivers to custodians to teachers, and we talk to principals and everybody in between to get feedback. So I just don't want that missed in the discussion as well. But is it something that we're all concerned about? Absolutely, and for the sake of our young people that we're charged to serve. So, again, look forward to continued conversation, discussion, and everybody working together to address it, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Witherspoon, for those comments. I think this board looks forward to an opportunity of working with you and your staff to finding a solution, finding the staff and employees that we need to fill these vacant, qualified individuals to fill these positions. Any other comments, questions, or reports from any board member? Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. Did have a few more just brief comments. Under your leadership back in 2016, 17, 18, we used to meet with the City of Columbia as well as Richland County Council. I am asking, and I hope the board will support me, in that we go back to meeting with County Council and City Council in regards to partnerships, continuing to explore opportunities to work together, and also to expand on partnerships and apprenticeships, and also just to show our leadership, communicating with our fellow colleagues as elected officials. So I'd like for us to continue to communicate. I think we could meet at our Richland 1 room at the convention center. We can spread out. We don't have to do it together with both groups, all three groups, maybe just us in the city, and then us and Richland County at some point in the near future. Not this summer. Let's get through summertime and maybe in the fall. But I think there's some things that we need to discuss. Here's some things in the community, and I think that we just need to sit down as leaders in the community and just have a conversation. Just see what we can do together as two or three organizations that are doing things in the community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Commissioner Vine, are you making that as a motion or just food for thought?
Well, it's food for thought, but at some point, just as we do on the board retreat,
right.
I think if you and Dr. Witherspoon and appropriate staff will get with the other persons from the city and the county and set it up as we did in years past, that would be most appropriate for us.
Sounds good. And Dr. Witherspoon, we will get together on that. You're correct. We're being discussed in a lot of rooms, but we're not at the table. So I think that makes a lot of sense, and I look forward to the discussion. Dr. Witherspoon and I will get started on that with Eva and Ms. Marietta, and we will come back to the board with something planned to meet with the county, plan to meet with the city, and a plan to meet with our delegation as well. All right. Any other reports from anyone? Are you done? Okay. Commissioner Bishop.
I just want to ask Commissioner Devine, what would you say is the priority of that meeting? What would you say would be the number one thing we need to do?
I would say, number one, continue to expand on our partnerships and apprenticeships at this point.
Okay, that's what you said. You did say that.
And then continue to explore other opportunities to work together.
Okay.
As various things come up in the community.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions, comments, or reports from anyone? I did want to share very briefly on Saturday, Dr. Witherspoon, I had an opportunity and to my colleagues to attend Unity in the Community that was hosted down in the Lower Richland community by one of the pastors there and his entire congregation. And I wanted to publicly just say on behalf of the school district how much we thank Pastor Curd and his church for the 10 scholarships that he gave out to our children. Great event. Going to some of your points about mental health, there was a mental health counselor there on staff at that event, as well as dental, vision, diabetic screenings, you name it. Great food, which was free. Activities for our children. Dr. Witherspoon, they were out there in full number. But I just wanted to publicly thank the church. As I stated to some of my colleagues earlier, there are parts of our community that don't have the YMCA and all of these other places, Commissioner Devine. So their outlet is the church. So I certainly want to just publicly thank Friendship Baptist Church there in the Hopkins community for the Unity in Community Day, which was a huge, packed out success. In the midst of some showers, it turned out very well, and a lot of good information was passed out to our parents. Even had a chance to share some of our Summer SOAR booklets with parents that were looking for things to engage their students in. Dr. Witherspoon, with that, a question was asked of me from one of the parents with the Summer SOAR that is geared towards our children. This particular grandmother, I believe, had her grandchildren for the summer and wanted to know with those summer camps, is it allowed for children from other districts to come and participate if they provide the transportation? I didn't have an answer for her, but I told her I would ask that question.
Those are for Richland 1 students, and some of that's going to depend on the funding source of those, but then also some of those classes fill up, and some even have waiting lists. So we want those on that waiting list to be, our students.
Okay.
But we have seen some numbers in a lot of programs, wait lists and class sizes go up. And during the pandemic, too, I know our teachers need a break, and we appreciate them for working with us and our students during the summer as well. So, again, sometimes there's some issues in terms of number of students and all. But it would depend.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Witherspoon. Any other reports from any board members? Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. We did receive a letter. All of us should have received a letter from the local chamber. And as a body, I would like for us to respond to that letter to the local chamber in regards to the budget process, in regards to the needs of the district, and in regards to the amount of funding that we receive from the various groups, whether it's local, whether it's federal, whether it's state. And I think it is due a response. And so I would ask, Madam Chair, if you and Dr. Witherspoon could respond back to him or to the chamber and just let them know what our budget process is, the needs of the district, and maybe just thank them for their letter. But we as a body have to make the decision of what we need for our organization, just as they make the decision for what they need for their body. And so as a elected official, as a board member, we have to do what is best in conjunction with our administrator, CEO, that provides administrative detail to us as to what we need. I think that we need to have a written response, just as they responded to us, to the effect of, again, providing the overview of the budget process, the needs of the district, and how our funding comes into place. And if we need to, at some point, request a millage increase, we can do that as an organization. If we see fit that we don't, then we don't. But this year, last couple of years, we have not requested a millage increase. And we did that on our own, not based on any letter or any conversation from that group. But we as a body, as a board, can do that, and we've always done it. We're a regular partner. We're not a junior partner. We are a part of this community, and we would do what is best for our organization and continue to move forward that as our CEO sees fit and this board continues to vet information that comes before it each and every board meeting. So if I need to make that as a motion, I can. Yes. That's not a problem, but I would suggest that we send a letter back in response to that letter.
Can you please make a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we send a letter to the chamber in response to the letter that was sent to us, and specifically highlight the points of the budget process, the needs of the district, and also maybe where funding comes from programmatically going forward.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to send a response to the chamber. It's been properly seconded by Commissioner Bishop. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion. I will say this to Commissioner Devine, your point is well taken, to include the budget process, the needs of the district, the funding, but also to even highlight the amount of money that not only Richland 1, but the two districts here in Richland County contribute to the local economy, to the sum of about, I think it's $1 billion to the local economy, and that's yearly. So I think it's important that we include all of those things. So there is a motion on the floor. It's been properly second. We'll now call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those that oppose say nay. The ayes have it. We will craft a letter, and we will be sending something to you all shortly for your review. We'll now, are you done? Okay. We'll now move on to the Office of the Superintendent with the legal status report. And Attorney Williams, if you want, you can speak from your mic at the desk. Okay. She done got up.
I'm up here. We don't have any information to share tonight. Some things that we thought were going to occur have not occurred. So as we get information, we'll be sharing it with you.
Okay.
That's our report for tonight.
All right. This is an information item. Floor is open for any questions or comments. Seeing none, hearing none. Thank you so much, Attorney Williams. We'll now move on to the Office of the Superintendent. 13.2, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Witherspoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. This is our first regularly scheduled board meeting since we held our high school graduation ceremonies. Congratulations again to all of the students in the class of 2022. We are proud of you, and I know your families are proud of you as well. The class of 2022 collectively earned over $73.8 million in scholarships. This year's scholarship total exceeded last year's by $11 million. Again, congratulations to the class of 2022. And speaking of our recent graduates, we know many of them are preparing to head to college, enlist in the military, or join the workforce. We also recognize that some may not have decided what they will do now that they have graduated from high school. Next Thursday, June 23rd, we will have an opportunity fair for our recent graduates to provide them with information and access to employment and educational opportunities in our community. The opportunity fair will be held 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Dreher High School. Numerous employers, including Richland 1, will be there to share job opportunities. We urge all of our recent graduates who have not finalized their post-graduation plans to attend. As a reminder, this Thursday, June 16th, our Human Resource Services team will hold a summer job fair for certified and classified positions. The job fair will be held from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the Eau Claire High School gym. Additional information is posted on our website at richland1.org. The 21-22 school year is over, but learning does not stop during the summer in Richland 1. Our summer SOAR programs and camps began yesterday, Monday, June 13th, and will continue through July 28th. There are opportunities still available for students to participate in summer SOAR, and parents can go to our website, richland1.org/SOAR, or call our summer SOAR hotline at 803-400-1692. And tomorrow, Commissioner Bishop, 2,000 of our students, of our elementary students, will be attending the Columbia Fireflies baseball game at Segra Park. I look forward to seeing them there, and look forward to seeing, and our board chair has tossed the ball to Commissioner Bishop to throw out the first pitch. I'm also honored to have the opportunity to perform the national anthem before the game that begins at 12:05 p.m. Again, this year, our Student Nutrition Services team is providing free meals to children aged 18 or younger through our summer meal program. Students participating in our summer programs, as well as students who are not enrolled in our summer programs, can eat meals free at 27 school sites throughout the district. The list of locations is posted on our website. Meals will be served Monday through Thursday. Breakfast will be served 7:30 to 9 a.m., and lunch will be served from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Please note that children must eat their meals on site, and there are no pickup options available. Since our last board meeting, we've had several major award announcements. Columbia High School is one of only 8 high schools in South Carolina chosen to receive the 2021-2022 Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase Schools Award. This designation is given annually to schools that implement processes to enhance the culture and climate of their schools. Capturing Kids' Hearts celebrates schools and other educational facilities where educators are exceeding expectations and creating an environment where students feel safe, connected, and eager to learn. The Air Force Junior ROTC units at Columbia High School and C.A. Johnson High School each earned the 2021-2022 Distinguished Unit Award from the Air Force Junior ROTC headquarters. The district's 2 Air Force units were among 870 chosen worldwide, and 2 of only 29 selected for this award from South Carolina. The Distinguished Unit Award recognizes the personal growth and accomplishments of the cadets, the contributions of their instructors as mentors, and the support of the school and others. On May 27th, at our Celebration Employee Recognition Banquet, Ms. Caroline Carson of Rosewood Elementary was named our new Richland 1 Teacher of the Year, and Mrs. LaMarianne Shiver of Southeast Middle School was named our new Richland 1 Classified Employee of the Year. Also, Ms. Courtney King of Meadowfield Elementary was named the district's first Induction Teacher of the Year. And yesterday, June 13th, Pine Grove Elementary School Principal Dr. Tracy Pickett received 2 awards at the 2022 training conference held by the South Carolina Association of School Resource Officers and the DARE, Drug Abuse Resistance Education Association of South Carolina in Myrtle Beach. Dr. Pickett was named the 2022 Educator of the Year by the South Carolina Association of School Resource Officers and the 2022 DARE Educator of the Year by the DARE Association of South Carolina. The awards recognize Dr. Pickett for outstanding support of the SRO and DARE programs. Also at the conference, Master Deputy Sharik Hill, who serves as Pine Grove's SRO, was surprised with the DARE Association's 2022 Golden Courage Award in recognition of her service to Richland 1 and as an employee of the Richland County Sheriff's Department. Congratulations to all of the award winners on receiving these recognitions. Finally, Madam Chair, our summer work schedule will begin Monday, June 20th. Employees will work 10-hour days Monday through Thursday. All buildings will be closed on Friday. Regular work schedules will resume Monday, August 1st. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Witherspoon, for your report. We will open the floor at this time for any questions or comments to the superintendent. Commissioner Lomanak.
I'm sorry, Chairwoman Harris. I should have mentioned this in my board report. I had it written down. I think this is the first meeting we've had since the graduations. Am I right? We went to all 8 graduations, and these were hot. Folks set up the stages. I mean, I can't imagine the work that went into moving all of that stuff. As far as I could tell, every single graduation ceremony went off without a hitch. If there was, you couldn't see it from where we were sitting or where the students were sitting. The principal's addresses, the salutatorian addresses, the valedictorian addresses, the AVID students' addresses were all spot on, all different in their own ways and wonderful. So I do want to thank the administration and the unbelievable number of staff that I'm sure it took to put each of those on 4 days straight at 4 different locations. So thank you all, and hopefully next year will be either inside or cooler weather. Thanks.
Yeah, believe that.
Inside.
We ain't outside no more.
Any other questions or reports for the superintendent?
Chairwoman,
Commissioner Bishop.
not a question, but I believe national observance for Juneteenth is on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So just want to remind everyone that is the National Day of Observance for Juneteenth.
Okay. Any other questions for the superintendent on his board report? Dr. Witherspoon, also want to thank you on behalf of the board for the great job that your staff did on the heels of what Commissioner Lomanak shared in pulling off that graduation. That's not a light task. So I want to thank those that spearheaded that, Dr. Prince and the Coach Metz that do a fantastic job for us each year, and all those that participated on the program and the agenda. Our young people are going places, and I think that's what graduation is all about. It's the fulfillment of all of the hard work during the year to see that they've made it, and it should do you proud as well as this board and as a district, our community, to see that our young people have excelled and are doing some fantabulous, and I know that's not a word, but it's going to be one tonight, a fantabulous job in breaking down barriers, Commissioner Devine, and excelling across the spectrum. So we're so very proud of each of them, and certainly want to thank your staff, namely those custodians that worked tirelessly, our security that worked tirelessly, and even those that provided hats for the board members to put on. We thank you as well for looking out for us, because it meant a whole lot. If there are no other questions or comments or reports from any board member, we have one announcement, and that is that the next regular scheduled meeting of the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners will be held on Tuesday, June the 28th, 2022, here at the Stevenson Administration Building, 1616 Richland Street, here in Columbia, South Carolina. And if there is no objection from the board, we can consider ourselves dismissed. Thank you.